Well, I've got more good news than bad here in this episode. Some wild games here, but California wasn't really much of a dream here. But anyway, let's still continue to start a goalie controversy here, as it's time for another episode of... Welcome back to another episode of my Calgary Flames in 6 here. It's Brett Hornby here. This is where I go recap the Calgary Flames, their 6-game segments here through the 2018-19 NHL season here. Right now, this is episode 4, where we'll be concentrating on games 13 to 18 on the schedule here. If you enjoy everything that I do on my YouTube channel with sports recaps and personal vlogs or anything else I post, let's say when I'm on holidays, or any scenery videos or musical entertainment, or moments at sporting events. Basically, that's all on my channel. So make sure you hit like, subscribe here, and let's get going and recap the Calgary Flames here. And I'd say, in one sense, maybe that beatdown that they had with the Pittsburgh Penguins in the last episode, where I did need a shot at JD and to talk about that game, and then chase it with some Bailey's Irish Cream for dessert there, because it wasn't pretty, but some teams, seem to respond well after getting that beatdown, and I'd say the Flames, have responded since then, but I still think there's some question marks in net here as we get going here. So I'll bring up my my notes here on Google Docs here, as it's beauty to have all your notes here and on the go. So let's cue it up here. Starting with this, go back to game 13. This happened on Tuesday, October the 30th. The Calgary Flames went to the KeyBank Center to take on the Buffalo Sabres. That was a 5 p.m. puck drop. And the Buffalo Sabres are definitely looking much better these days. I mean, they got Jack Eichel, obviously, and Jeff Skinner and Rasmus Dahlin that they got first overall there, but he also recently got hurt here. But this was a low-scoring affair here. Definitely, the Flames definitely outplayed the Buffalo Sabres here, but Calgary definitely, I think, get on the board here till the last minute of the game when Matthew Tkachuk, clutch again, scores in the last minute, and Johnny Gaudreau scores in overtime. So we pulled out a 2-1 victory in Buffalo there, where you definitely deserved to win here, but there was definitely some controversy. As I recall, there was a goal that the Flames looked like they scored and got called back, but they responded, the late heroics and the overtime win. As I mentioned, Matthew Tkachuk has proven he's definitely a clutch player, and he's definitely having a big season here. When I get to the stats here, David Rittich won this game with a 28 save victory, and Carter Hunt, and he was peppered with 38 shots from the Flames there. So we definitely outplayed the Buffalo Sabres here. And then we had a couple crazy games here when we got back home here. So if you go back to game 14, which was Thursday, November the 1st here, and there was still some Halloween hangover here in this game, because there were definitely some tricks early, but some treats at the end here, because this was like one of the wildest games you can get here, because Calgary was down 4-1 after the second period here, but they still won the game when they scored a big 5 goals in the third period to eventually win this game 6-5 over the Colorado Avalanche. And I say that's definitely a huge win to show that this team has some resiliency, but also the fact that it's collecting points against Central Division team rivals that look to be on the bubble there, and may have to fight with them for a wild card if we don't finish in the top 3 in the Pacific here. So basically, what can highlight here is that other than it was a wild one, Smith did start net, and he did play the whole game, but he made the saves that he did in the third period, and Mark Giordano led the way with 4 points from the night, goal and 3 assists, and 6 different Flames scored in this game. So it was definitely it's nice to be on the right end of a wild game here. There definitely was a little bit of that in preseason too, that there was a couple high-scoring affairs that the Flames managed to pull out, but offense has been up actually generally in the NHL this year, so that should definitely make most casual hockey fans happy here. Maybe not so the coaches, but wins all that matters, so just win, baby. So game 15, this is Saturday, November the 3rd. Took on the Chicago Blackhawks. That was an 8 p.m. puck drop at home. Hockey night in Canada. You could say this one was another wild game, but not as big of a comeback in the third period here. Flames were down 3-2 in the second period here, but Corey Crawford definitely was peppered like a peppercorn steak here when the Flames, because the Flames outshot them 41-15 here, but we did manage to win this game 5-3 here. Sean Monahan had 2 goals away here, and actually his performance, in the first, the last bit of October and the first week of November here actually warranted him the first star of the week for the week of November 5th. So, Sean Monahan, I think he's feeling a little better there after his wrist surgery, and I still, blows my mind that he needed 4 surgeries there in the off season, but on the internet he's called boring Sean Monahan, but I think he's not boring with all the goals that he's put on and being one of the leaders of the Flames here. So that ended off their brief homestand here after they went to Toronto, which ended episode 3, and then they went to a quick trip to Buffalo to start this episode here. But then after this they went to California, and I wouldn't really say there was much dreaming around. It was a little bit of a nightmare here. Got to wonder if the offense has dried up a little. But anyway, if we got to game 16 after a couple days off, the Flames went to the Tower of Terror. The Honda Center at an 8:30 puck drop. They say Disneyland. Anaheim is known for Disneyland. Home of the happiest place on the earth, but don't tell the Calgary Flames that, because they've only won twice in Anaheim in the last 14 seasons, and as the history played itself again, against the Calgary Flames, that they lost in Anaheim, and for some reason can't seem to win there. I don't know what it is, but they were down 2-0 early, which put us in a hole there. Smith did start, and he seems to be having that habit lately of allowing those goals early. But Calgary did actually fought back. Scored one in the first, and then had a 2-2 game, and it was mostly 2-2 until the former hitman Ryan Getzlaf scored the go-ahead goal midway through the third period, and the Anaheim Ducks won this one 3-2, and this one kind of stung, not only because of the fact that it's another tough loss in Anaheim, home of the happiest place on earth. Not if you're a Calgary Flame, but this it's a divisional rival, and Anaheim has actually trended down this year. So this is definitely points that they could have accumulated, but it wasn't for a lack of effort though, because the Flames outshot the Anaheim Ducks 39-24, but hopefully all the heat in California hasn't dried up the offense. Thoughts obviously go out to the California wildfires right now, but it's still a beautiful state. It's a place that a lot of Canadians like to go to escape the heat there, but hopefully the offense didn't dry up. But let's go to game 17. The Flames went to Los Angeles at the Staples Center, 8 p.m. puck drop, Hockey Night in Canada here, and this definitely was a little bit of a throwback game for the Calgary Flames, as this was a perfect game. They only won 1-0 there, with a shutout by David Riddick, who had 21 saves, but that also means that the LA Kings were suppressed to 21 shots, and we definitely took advantage of the LA Kings being down down and out. I mean, they recently let John Stevens go as head coach, and I think this is only the second game that former Canucks head coach Willie Desjardins took over as head coach for the LA Kings here. But all we needed was an early goal by Travis Hamonic and 21 save shutout by David Rittich, and we won this game 1-0. And then pretty much this is exactly that kind of effort that the Flames are known for, especially when we were successful earlier. And Bill Peters is known for his defensive structure system. I would definitely say this would be a game that Bill Peters is happy with so far, his tenure as Calgary Flames head coach here. So that was Saturday night, and then the next night for Game 18, the Calgary Flames, took on the challenge here at the San Jose Sharks at the SAP Center on Sunday, November 11th here. And Mike Smith did start in net after David Rittich had a strong night before. But, I guess generally in back-to-back situations, you play one goalie one night and the next goalie the next night. And not to totally throw Mike Smith on the bus there. I mean, Vander Kane had a early goal, which has been the theme here with Mike Smith, but he actually played well. And the Calgary Flames, I mean, they played okay against the Sharks here, but I think okay is not going to cut against the San Jose Sharks here, because I still think, despite them being looked at as a team that I think will eventually finish first in the Pacific here, but, these are definitely points that we could still try to collect now, especially, in the season if we fall short or don't get a favorable seed here. But, they dropped this one 3-1. It was an empty netter that the Sharks had at the end of the game here, but, the offense definitely has dried up. I mean, Sean Monahan scored the only goal for the Flames, but Joe Pavelski was in the factor in all three goals with a 3-point night, with a goal and assist. Well, no goal and 2 assists, so for the Sharks here. So the Flames, I still say we're in pretty good shape right now, second in the Pacific Division here, but, definitely can't sustain those wild third period comebacks, and hopefully, I think eventually the hand's going to have to be forced that David Rittich's going to have to play more games, and hopefully Mike Smith can still figure out his funk he's in. I mean, he's been in the funk since the start of the season and didn't look right during the preseason, and we're getting to that point here that it's almost American Thanksgiving, and that's where you have to judge, are you a pretender or contender or still in it, because if you're more than like 5-7 points out of a playoff spot in American Thanksgiving, you're almost doomed, because you need to go on a long winning streak just to play catch up, and that's what the Flames did a couple years ago when they made the playoffs 2017. It took a strong December to play catch up and a 10-game winning streak there in February and March to eventually get that wildcard spot. So I still say I'm in better mood and a little more optimistic where the Flames are in this episode compared to the last episode, because I felt they were at a crossroads there after that beatdown against Pittsburgh. But let's take a look at the next 6 games here, and hopefully they can establish some home presence again, because they definitely have a lot more home games here, but a couple tough games ahead and a couple divisional opponents here that that are not doing so well right now that we can take advantage of and get some points on. So looking ahead here, when I do episode 5 here, game 19, the Calgary Flames are off for a couple of days, but on Thursday, November the 15th, they take on the Montreal Canadiens at home. And then game 20, Hockey Night in Canada, the first Battle of Alberta, Saturday, November 17th, we take on the Edmonton Oilers there for the first, Battle of Alberta in the 2018-19 regular season. And then that's game 20. And then game 21, Monday, November the 19th, we take on the Vegas Golden Knights, and they definitely have really fallen from grace, no pun intended, after making a remarkable run to the Stanley Cup after being an expansion team. But maybe James Neal could be extra inspired for not signing him and signing with us, but we'll see how that goes. And then I'd say the toughest game here for the Calgary Flames here at the end of this 4-game homestand. Game 22, Wednesday, November the 21st. They take on the Winnipeg Jets, and right now the Winnipeg Jets, I think they're there with the Toronto Maple Leafs and Nashville Predators and Tampa Bay Lightning right now, where you can legitimately look at them as one of the top teams in the league and potential Stanley Cup contenders here. And then they go on a nice little trip to the desert here again. Game 23, Friday, November the 23rd. They actually get to play the Vegas Golden Knights again, this time at the T-Mobile Arena. And I said the Vegas Golden Knights are they're definitely struggling right now at the gate. And then game 24, Sunday, November 25th, the Flames take on the Arizona Coyotes. That's the same day as the Grey Cup here. So yeah, I'd say the Flames definitely need to take advantage of some home cooking here. And I say there's a couple Pacific Division teams here that they can potentially gain some points on for keep pace in the playoff race here in the Western Conference. And I still say it's easier to stay in the top 3 here. So let's bring up some Flames stats here for scoring here on my phone here. The one thing that was brought up recently is that actually the Flames at one time were the only team in the league to have 5 players that have at least 15 points here. So if we look at the Flames leaders here, and so right now when it comes to points, there's a 3-way tie with 19 points. Sean Monahan, Matthew Tkachuk, and Johnny Gaudreau. And then Elias Lindholm is 4th with 18 points, and Mark Giordano is 5th with 16 points, and I'll throw in Michael Backlund with 10 points. So, and that's the other thing I mentioned with Mark Giordano here. He's actually in the top 5 defensive scoring. So definitely kudos to Mark Giordano, so he can still has it and looked upon as one of those fringe defensemen that you can legitimately rate as a Norris candidate. Now when it comes to goals here, well, Sean Monahan and Elias Lindholm have 9 for a tie of the team league. And then Matthew Tkachuk, Michael Frolik were both tied for 3rd in the team with 7 goals. And then Johnny Gaudreau runs at the top 5 with 6 goals. So we definitely start seeing a pattern here. And then when it comes to assists, Mark Giordano, the captain, leads with 14 assists, followed by Johnny Gaudreau with 13, and Matthew Tkachuk 3rd at 12th. Sean Monahan with 10 at 4th, and Elias Lindholm with 9. And then this is where it gets interesting here when it comes to goaltending here, is that where I still think there's a controversy here that when it comes to goals against average, David Rittich 1.91, Mike Smith 3.51, but I think the one stat that you can take more heavily here is his save percentage. David Rittich 935, Mike Smith 877, but to not totally throw Smith on the bus here, both Smith and Rittich have 5 wins and a shutout. So it's still early, but I think David Rittich needs some more playing time here. So now let's look at where the team ranks here. So on the power play, which is actually a little better than it was last year, but it doesn't take much. It's 21st in the league at 17.2%. So despite the offense, we're still have some work to do when it comes to the power play. Penalty kill, I know it's still struggling right now. Actually, it's a little better compared to the last episode, but we're 25th in the league at 76.3%. So we still need some work to do on the special teams here, despite with the coaching changes here. So yeah, that's basically my Calgary Flames in 6 here for episode 4, recapping games 13-18. And I said, if you enjoy everything I do on my YouTube channel, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and follow along here. Hit that bell icon if you need to know as soon as I post something. One thing I'll make note here is that game 24, which will be the end of the next segment here, which is on Sunday, November 25th, there might be a delay in me doing episode 5 here. I'll try to either get it out in the can and upload it either the Monday evening or Tuesday, because I'll be going to Edmonton for the Grey Cup here. Hopefully the Calgary Stampeders will be there and bring it home this year. But anyway, I'll be on the road, so I don't come home till the Monday evening, so I might still have time to record the video here. But I'll just give you a heads up there that there might be a delay with the next episode here because of my travels here. But I also do like to make sure I post before the next game, but sometimes that's not always possible if the cutoff on the segment is on back-to-back nights like this episode was. But I think the Flames actually have a couple days off in between that game with Arizona and their next game, so I should have the video will be up before the next game, but you might have to wait an extra day there depending on how the day goes and travel goes and how I feel after the Grey Cup. So that's my little note there for next episode. But anyway, I'll see you at the next video, next episode.